7:04 on this Thursday, January 25th. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thursday morning, cloudy and overcast. I don't think it's raining out there. It might be sprinkling a little bit, but what I'm impressed with is how warm it is this morning. We are ready to talk about Bates Ford this morning. Ronnie Kelly is here. Ronnie, good morning.
Good morning.
Always good to see you.
Glad to be here.
Got a little message from Paul last night that he wasn't feeling so great, and he didn't want to spread anything, so he's not coming out this morning.
Right. He's been under the weather for a few days, but he's still been coming to work. But one day he had to leave and go home.
Well, I hope he'll be okay. Sure he will. Just sometimes you can work yourself sick, and I don't know. He's got a lot to do there as general manager of Bates Ford.
Yes, he got a lot to do. There's a lot going on there. You know, there's so many people still coming by for us getting the building together, and somebody come by asking questions, and he running here, running there. So he got a lot on his shoulders right now.
Well, Bates Ford, of course, is now located at 1780 Franklin Road, and they're still the dealer. It'll trade for anything you don't eat, and Ronnie's been in sales for nearly 37 years.
Yes, sir.
It actually, when you started, it was Burchett Ford.
Burchett Ford.
And it became Bates Ford at the same location on West Main, but about Thanksgiving last year, you moved to this new location. Got a lot more room. It's a beautiful place there.
Yes, we got a lot more room. It's got great inventory right now, and one thing about the inventory, Ford gave us a lot of inventory, and at one time we had a few trucks, but now we have a lot of trucks. And also we have a F-150s in a single cab, and we used not to have any single cab, so we got some great deals on those trucks, and we got great rebates, and also we have a great interest rate on those trucks.
You still love that F-150, don't you?
Yes, sir. The F-150 super cab, crew cab. So, and one thing about those right now, interest rates are pretty high at a lot of banks and credit unions. So Ford has a special rates on their vehicles. Not only special rates, but on every vehicle they also have a rebate. So if you are interested in a brand new vehicle, come by Bates Ford and talk to one of our friendly sales staffs, and we'll sit down and put something together for you.
Well, no doubt you will, and you've been doing this successfully for about 37 years, so a little experience there doesn't hurt.
A little experience don't hurt, and tomorrow will be the 26th, will be 37 years.
37 years tomorrow when you actually started.
Yes, sir.
How about that? Well, I know the snow and cold weather has kind of put a damper on things, but you still probably had quite a bit of business. People still need oil changes. People still need different things, even windshield wipers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And last week it was kind of slow, but we sold several vehicles during the snow, and people came in for service. Now this week our service it just blowed up. I mean, we're doing a whole lot of service this week, and it's people in there every day, and we're doing a lot of oil changes, and that's a great thing. And like Paul talks about on last week, we got a mobile service, and our mobile service is a great service. Like if you at work and you need your oil change, you just give us a call and they'll pick your car up and bring it back to you. So that's a great thing.
I think MJ took advantage of that recently, and I think she's smiling. She had a happy experience, so that's good. But,
yes.
But really, you come and get the vehicle, you take care of it, you bring it back, and there's no downtime on the customer.
No downtime on the customer. We got a great staff, and they're doing a great job with that. This is the first year we started that.
Well, you're still doing the oil change up to 5 quarts.
Yes, oil change up to 5 quarts. I want to think it's $34.95 up to 5 quarts, and we're still doing the battery, $149.95.
That's just really a great deal on the batteries.
Yes, sir.
And I got one of them myself when my car wouldn't start one morning, and most of the time you're able to put that battery in at no charge. If it's in a bad place, or there's certain situations where you have to charge a little bit more than that for that, but a lot of times that 159 is it.
Yeah, that's most of the time that's it, and sometimes, like you said, on special cars it may be a little bit more, but we're very compatible.
And of course, tires. Paul's always saying we'll beat anybody's price on tires.
Beat everybody's price on tires or match them, and it's also a free rotation.
Yeah.
For the life of the vehicle.
Right. And that's a good thing, too. You rotate those tires, they're going to last longer.
Right, and that's one good thing about it. And our service department, if you, it opens at 7:30 a.m. and it's closed at 5:30, and it's a great time to come in and take advantage of it. We got some great deals right now on front-end alignments. We have the state-of-the-art equipment. So if you come in for front-end alignment, we can take care of it. And we got a great staff, and we got more employees now. So if you come in, we can take care of getting your oil changed. I was talking to a young man on yesterday. He went to another place to get oil changed, and he had to get an appointment. It was 2 weeks before he could get in. And so he came to us, and he got his oil changed just like that.
Well, that's great. We hadn't mentioned used cars, but I guess you got a good selection of
We got a great selection of used cars, and I talked to Mr. Bates on Tuesday, and he purchased some more on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we got a great selection, and Paul is getting them in service, getting them on the line. So if you come down and you don't see a used car online, just come down and talk to one of our sales staffs, because a lot of time we haven't got them ready yet, and we may have what you want sitting in the back.
Right. All right. Well, all of this at Bates Ford, 1780 Franklin Road. And Ronnie, thanks for being with us this morning.
Yes, sir.
We'll get well wishes to Paul, and maybe he'll be with us next Thursday.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Right. Bates Ford, the dealer to trade for anything it don't eat. We're 10 after the hour. I've invited my friend David Hale to be my guest this morning. Now, I could probably talk till time for the break about David Hale, and most of it would be good. David, good morning.
Well, I'm glad to know most of it would be good. I appreciate that. I suppose all of us have a little something that wouldn't be good to talk about.
You know, I'm not going to talk bad about you, but I guess I've known you since you were hanging around here. You were at Castle Heights, and you also had some kind of radio club or something. You came out here occasionally. I don't remember much about that, but I've heard you talk about it. And of course,
we actually
for a long time, and we lived up the street from me most of our lives, I guess.
Absolutely.
But anyway, you're here, and there's a special reason that you're here this morning, because you won a prestigious award at the Tennessee Association of Fairs meeting recently, and it has ties to Lebanon. I'd rather you tell us about it, if you would.
Well, sure. I was, and I'll have to say my business partner Sandra and my wife Lana, they helped conspire, I suppose you'd say, and I had no idea that I had even been nominated for this award, much less won it. And they started reading the information about the award winner, and I was like, wait a minute, that sounds like me. So
that's a great feeling, really.
Absolutely. So it's called the Jimmy Floyd Memorial Award, and this award is for associate members of the Tennessee Association of Fairs. And associate members are companies like Mindhawk Specialty. We do sound, stage, and lighting, and there are bands that are associate members. There are, of course, carnivals, insurance companies that insure fairs. So any type of business that does business with fairs is eligible to be an associate member of the Tennessee Association of Fairs. And so this award is selected by the board of directors from a nomination from another associate. So another associate member of the fair, in fact, two members of the associates nominated me. This isn't an award that's given every year. It's only given when someone's nominated, and the owners from amusement attractions, Mr. William Purdy, and from the owners of Pope's Rides and Concessions, James Roy Pope, they nominated me. And the interesting thing of this is to talk about how covert they were, and surprising me with this is I actually sit on the board of directors of the association, and somehow, and it has to be voted on by that board, and
They must have done this when you took a restroom break.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. We had a board meeting. I got up and I went out and answered a phone call. While I was out of the room, they made the nomination, voted on it, and I came back in none the wiser. And they didn't put it in the minutes and amended the minutes then after I.
That is a sneaky way to do something.
They definitely surprised me with it. So
well, we're glad to be able to say congratulations to you. Glad you won it, and I feel for sure it's very well deserved. I want to. It's almost time for us to take a break here, but I want us to talk about some of your work at the fair, and I think there's. In fact, I had an article that was in one of our newspapers this past year. I was going to bring to you. I think it left it on my desk, but anyway, I'm going to get it to you. You probably, if you already have it, you need another copy. But it was telling so much about what you do at the fair and spend 2 or 3 weeks out there during that time. And after we come back from a break, I want to talk about some of this because you have played a leading role. The Wilson County Fair, now Wilson County Fair, Tennessee State Fair, all these years, and I'm sure that has a lot to do with the honor that you've been given. David Hale, my guest. This is Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Want to thank our friends at Bates Ford. Get a battery installed on most vehicles. $149.95. Bates Ford, 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Heavy traffic right now on 24 westbound up through the Hickory Hollow area coming in from Rutherford County. It's pretty crowded now as it loads up pretty good through Hendersonville on Vietnam Vets westbound from Gallatin Pike all the way up till you get to Conference Drive. Still a little bit slower than normal on 24 eastbound there at Whites Creek Pike coming through the Jolton area. I see that slowdown already in Robertson County on 65 south through Portland. Prince's Hot Chicken has you covered during the playoff season with catering. You can order on their mobile app today. Check out their website for that menu at princeshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing has experienced new leadership and a new atmosphere. Same location in the heart of Lebanon, 731 Castle Heights Court on the Castle Heights campus. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing is providing 5-star clinical outcomes to short-term and long-term care residents. Call 615-444-4319 for a tour and to experience the new culture. Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing.
Are you thinking about buying a new home? Let A.G. & Johnson assist you with your new home search. From the first-time home buyer to the empty nester, we are experienced in all facets of the home buying process. We will be with you every step of the way. No matter if you are buying, selling, downsizing, or upsizing, we can assist you with your real estate needs. Call us at 615-444-0909 or find us online at agandjohnson.com or Facebook A.G. & Johnson Realty. A.G. & Johnson is your community's trusted realty and auction company.
And we continue here on this Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us. David Hale is my guest, and I know you want to say something here about the Floyd family, and then we'll talk about your history with the fair.
I was just, and when I received the award, one of the things I said is that this award's a little extra special to me because it is named for Jimmy Floyd, a person that I knew. I worked some part-time for the Floyd family. Just really enjoyed the time I spent there. I worked with them worked on the Himalaya for a little while, and I was still working at WEMA, and then when I'd get off duty, I'd drive to where they were and work, and when you're 18, 19 years old, that's that's not a tough thing to do nowadays. I don't know if I could do that again, but it was really special to me to win that award because of my association with the Floyds.
Yeah.
All for a lot of years and all the things that the Floyds have done for this community, and you don't have to look far around Lebanon to see their influence. The Jimmy Floyd Center, right. The Dallas Floyd facility up at Cumberland and a lot of other things.
Yes. Well, that is true, and I guess we just should give a shout out to Ann Floyd this morning. Now,
Absolutely.
She doesn't listen to our live presentation. She listens when it's replayed at 10 o'clock on AM, I think. That's my understanding. But a great lady, and just wonderful to still have her around and still listening every day.
Absolutely.
Well, you got sent out to the fair as part of your job at WEMA and we're talking about the fair started very humbly, if you will. I mean, there had been a mid-state fair that the Jaycees tried to do, and were somewhat successful, but I think it was probably bigger than they realized, and they just decided not to do it anymore. So Wilson County Promotions got started after that, and some very humble beginnings, really, for the fair. But you were sent out, so pick it up there.
Well, so when the Wilson County Promotions took it over, I was working at WEMA, and Wendell Organ was the director there, and so they had mentioned they'd like to have somebody do first aid, and so Wendell sent me out there. At that time, it was called Civil Defense, and they had a 1966 Chevrolet panel van, 3-speed on the column. It wasn't very fancy, and so I loaded some first aid supplies into that van, and I was the first aid crew for the fair, and it's shows the difference in times. I was out there by myself in that old panel van, and now
Did it keep you busy at all?
Oh man, I handed out a few Band-Aids and stuff like that about the sum and substance of it, but now we're running a first aid station with nurses and doctors staffing it from Vanderbilt, Wilson County, and WEMA has a pretty large presence. We have 2 ambulances on site every night, and on the big nights we have 3, and so a lot different than it was in the 70s.
Well, you just really took to all of this, and I don't know whether it's in your blood, I don't know what drives you, but you spend so many hours, and you still do. You have, now I don't know exactly what happened from when you went out there in that Chevrolet you're talking about as a first aid guy, but we'll pick it up from there.
Well, in '82, I was asked to come onto the fair board and start helping with the midway and the concessions, and there was a gentleman involved in that at the time that worked for one of the banks, whose name escapes me at the moment, but he got transferred to another branch and he moved. So my first year on the board, they said, "No, by the way, after this year, you're the chairman." I'm like, well, okay. And so I took over as chair of the independent midway areas, and have done that ever since. So I've got this will be my 42nd fair, something like that.
Yeah. Well, you have added some other responsibilities. Part of this, no doubt, is your dedication and your learning all about the fair and your expertise there. But sometimes I think you might be a little bit of a glutton for punishment as well.
Well, I enjoy the variety of things I do there, and I have a great committee of folks that help me, and so we do still manage the midway, and I do the coordination with the carnival and work with them on where rides are going to be set and things like that. Some of that expertise, if you will, came from being with the Floyds.
Yeah.
And then I manage the electrical crew. There's literally thousands of feet of cable that are added to the fairgrounds to run everything from the displays in the commercial exhibits to food concessions and all those kind of things. And I've got a 3-person electric crew that works with me now. At one point in time, I pulled all that wire because it wasn't near that much wire. I pulled a couple of 100 feet of wire and did all that myself because I grew up around my grandfather's business, and he did commercial refrigeration and commercial electrical work. So from the time I was about 12 years old, I was helping do electrical work, and so I've been able to use that experience and training, I guess you will, to help work at the fair.
Well, you evidently you've rarely said no, and when something needs to be done, you are somewhat of a jack of all trades, I think. So, well, David can do it.
Well, and I've been blessed to be able to do that, and like I say, I enjoy giving back to the community through the fair and that kind of thing, I have been in a situation where things that I've learned from my employments have transferred over to be able to do things for the fair. And
well, let me ask you this. I mean, you've just really taken to this and been a great. Would you have been just as involved, just as dedicated if it was something else? Is it because it's the fair, or is it just something that you got to do, whatever it is?
Well, gosh, I guess I have always sort of been involved in community events and things, but I have a special passion, if you will, for the fair, and my company, after we sort of specialize in working with fairs. We go to 6 fairs that we work for with Hawk Specialty Services, and we do primarily sound, stage, and light for them, but some of them we go in and we help them with their carnival relationships, and we sort of fill in the gaps for them. We've worked for a couple of small fairs that didn't have a very big volunteer base, and we're here. What can we do to help you? Well, we need somebody to mow grass. Can you mow grass? Well, sure, we'll mow some grass for you. So
you've been involved with Smith County Fair, haven't you?
Smith County Fair, the Cobb County Fair, so the Nashville Fair. Yeah. Those are 3 here close by that we work. We do some work for the fair up at Bowling Green and some things like that.
Well, we got about 3 minutes here. We had quite a change, really. It's different now that it is the Wilson County Fair, Tennessee State Fair.
Right.
What do you see that I take it that for you it's a good thing? What about the future?
And I think in the future it's going to continue to be good. We are seeing more and more support across the state for the state fair now, and it was very evident over at the Fair Association meeting this past week that a lot of the fairs appreciate the way that we are including them and truly trying to be a state fair and showcase everybody in Tennessee, not just Middle Tennessee or not just Wilson County, but we still try to make sure that our Wilson County roots still are still showing, and that Wilson County people still have a place to showcase their handiwork and to participate. So.
Well, now it is true that you spend from start to finish. How long are you actually out? Don't you have a camper or something that you sleep in on the fairground?
So I move my RV out there when we finish up one of our fairs, so I'm usually on the grounds about the 2nd of August, and then I stay on site until the horse show gets moved in at the first part of September.
Wow. Well, that's dedication, I got to say. I think it'd be remiss if I didn't mention 2 words here: Buzzards Roost.
Yeah, there you go.
That was in that newspaper article, too.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah.
What is Buzzard Roost?
Well, the Buzzard Roost is a location there on the fairgrounds where all of my crew that have been nicknamed the Buzzards, because Hale used to say, y'all just sort of circle around and wait for something to happen. like buzzards. So Hale Moss is who sort of named us the Buzzards, but we've got an area there, and I'm not the only one that shows up with their RV and spends. I probably stay longer than most, but there are other folks that spend a lot of days there in their RVs as well. So that's our RV encampment back there, and we've got a little office that we run the midway from and that kind of thing.
Okay, well, I take it you're not planning to slow down, not anytime soon.
Well, I hope not, but because we still enjoy, what we do from Hawk as far as, and we've got even more folks calling us than ever, and so we're very blessed in that respect, and I still enjoy the fair, and my dad would appreciate this. He used to call me about April and say, well, come by the house here and let's have breakfast because it's time for you to run away with the circus. So I hope I keep running away with the circus for many more years.
Well, thanks for being out this morning. Again,
Thank you for having me.
Congratulations for the award. We appreciate it. That's part 1 of Coleman and Company, but we've got more, and we hope you'll keep it right here, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Want to thank our friends at Absolute Kubota. They have a deal designed to keep you ahead of schedule. Check out the world's #1 selling compact excavator with 0% financing. It's going on now until the end of the year. Absolute Kubota, 1506 West Main. Now in traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Really slow now over here on 40 East trying to get past the airport coming into Hermitage, Donaldson. It's also carrying a heavy volume of traffic westbound on Vietnam Vets at Conference Drive trying to get on that ramp there to 65 going south. 65 south still crawling out of Kentucky this morning down through Portland, through that northern part of Robertson County. 24/7 reliable crane and rigging services here in Middle Tennessee. It's Tomahawk Crane and Rigging. They're online, tomahawkcrane.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
The cozy warmth after coming in from a chilly, pink-cheeked morning walk. The perfect man cave temperature to kick back and watch the big game. When the weather turns cold, a new Rheem heating system will surround your family in total comfort. Are you feeling it? Rheem, the new degree of comfort.
Feel year-round comfort with a new HVAC system installed by the pros at Randy's Heat and Air. We're the local team you can trust. Call Randy's Heat and Air today at 615-237-3604.
1.5 seconds left, no timeouts. Here's your season. Negron gives it to Bird. Bird for the win. It's gone! He did it! College Hoops is back, and so is Cumberland University on the radio. Join me, John Boyce, in the booth for every Mid-South Conference game this regular and postseason for both men's and women's Phoenix basketball. Conference games are every Thursday starting at 5:30 and every Saturday starting at 1 o'clock. Phoenix basketball is right here on 98.9. Cumberland's a winner.
Showers and thunderstorms continue to be a main focus of the forecast, along with warmer temperatures. As we go through today, a 90% chance of showers and storms, high near 66. South winds could gust up to 20 miles per hour. Overnight, showers continuing, low down to 51. This weather forecast is brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty, professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. Let's look at your forecast. I'm Stormy Clausen.
We welcome you to part 2 of Coleman and Company here on a Thursday morning. It's time for us to talk about A.J. Johnson Realty and Auction. Our usual 2 are here this morning. Good morning, Jay Watt.
Good morning, Coleman.
Good to have you with us. Helene Singer Cash, good morning to you.
Good morning, Coleman.
Always good to have you as well. A.J. Johnson Realty and Auction, 728 West Main in Lebanon. A community trusted since 1977. We always kind of say that phone number together, Helene.
615-444-0909.
Well, get us started, Jay.
Oh, Coleman, I'm glad it may be a little messy this morning, but it sure is better than last week. Let me tell you. But the weather is great.
Yeah, buddy.
But it's auction time again, and we're excited about getting back and getting started. I think we've got some signs going up this week on a nice sale. We're going to start the year out February the 10th out on Phillips Road. We're selling a nice modular home out there and 5 acres. It's got a detached garage with, I guess you would call it a studio apartment in it, just
Absolutely.
as nice as it could be, with a nice studio apartment. If you're looking for a nice residence and maybe get into, have someone in your family or a close friend that needs if you need some rental income, it would work with that, or you could have a place for kind of a mother-in-law suite, detached mother-in-law suite out there. So if you're looking for something like that, just a few steps from the city limits. It's not as far out as it used to be. Yeah. Phillips Lane's just right out, kind of east of town here. Come out and be with us on February the 10th. We'll be there at 10 o'clock in the morning for that sale to get our year started.
And we've even got another Thursday or two to talk about that.
We do, but it's we're just excited to do that. But
but you're already entertaining ideas for future auctions.
We are.
You're working on them.
We are. We're working on some spring auctions now. We're going to have some building lots and acreage tracts that we're going to be selling in March and April and on up into May. So if you're looking for some, we're looking to build this in the early spring or summer, look at our website, agandjohnsonauctions.com, and keep posted, and then we'll be putting those up as they get closer to sell it.
Well, Helene, what would you like to add to that this morning?
Well, Coleman, we always talk about that when I bring a new residential listing, that by the time I get here the next week, it's already under contract.
You have said that more than once.
Well, this morning I was going through our residential listings and everything's pending. It's wonderful.
So if it's pending, you can't talk about
Well,
it.
I don't like to, because that means it's under contract. So and it's a wonderful time that if you are thinking about listing, you should give us a call and we can talk to you about the process of listing your home traditionally with a real estate agent, or if you want to sell it through an auction. But if you're looking to upsize or downsize, whatever you're looking to do with your real estate, you can give us a call. But it's still a great market to sell. It's still a great market to look for something because the interest rates are shifting. It's still a great time to buy. There's a lot of building happening if you want to build, and there's a lot of opportunity out there to look for something new, whether you want to look in Wilson County or surrounding county. So we have an agent for you.
Yeah, we've had an influx of people. We've been a growing area for quite some time. Is that slowing down at all?
So a lot of people think that it's 10, 20 offers on a home. It's not that aggressive anymore. Right. So it's not that highly competitive market, but things are not on the market for a month, but they're not on the market for 2 days. So you still have an opportunity to go out there and look. It's not that highly competitive market, but things still sell rather fast, meaning they're on the market for a few weeks. If it's on the market a little bit longer, that's okay. It's still a good competitive market. So it was a good time to list a home, but still a good time to look for a new home.
Well, I think we must be doing a few things right. I know we are in Tennessee, and maybe doing some of them even better here in Wilson County.
Absolutely. People love to come to Wilson County. I think it's because we're really nice here.
You wanna respond to that, Jay?
I'll just a little bit. We do need listings, and if you've got any inkling of selling, give us a call. We have somebody in our office that can help you with your needs, whether it be building lots, houses, residential housing, or commercial. We do need some listings. We're out here ready to go to work. We're eager to go to work, and it's just a great time. If you have any inclination of selling, it's a great time to be placing those things on the market to catch the spring jump, I guess you could say.
Absolutely, it's time to do it.
And that website again, www.agandjohnson.com. A lot of information there.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything to do with that website? Do you?
Just a little bit, Coleman.
Is she kind of in charge of that, Jay?
She does a lot with that. It's a good thing she does. I can get there, but that's about it.
I hear you. All right. I guess that about does it. We appreciate you all being with us each Thursday, and if you are thinking about an auction, call Jay. If you're thinking about anything else, call
615-444-0909.
That'll get you, Jay, too. That's your number as well.
That's right. That sure will. It'll get to me. Thanks,
Coleman. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Coleman.
All right. Jay White, Helene Singer Cash with A.G. and Johnson Realty and Auction, 728 West Main, community trusted since 1977. All right, we are anticipating a call from Congressman John Rose, and I think the phone just lit up. Ray Render is already joined us here. Ray,
good morning, Coleman. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. It is good to have you with us. You're always here just in case. And MJ is going to answer the phone and see if that is.
He called just a minute ago and said he is prepared. So
all right, let's go to the phone, and I believe we do have Congressman John Rose. Good morning.
Good morning, Coleman. How are you this morning?
Doing well, and it's good to hear your voice. We're glad to have you with us. You are, I take it, calling from Washington, D.C.?
I am actually in Cookeville, Tennessee this morning, and wish I was over a few miles west with you, but the schedule just didn't work out that it makes sense to be there right now. So I'm coming that way in a little while, but needed to be over here for the early part of the day.
All right. Well, as I said, Ray is here. He's always here when you're going to be on, just in case, and a backup, I guess, if you will, because every once in a while something can go wrong.
Yeah.
But to get to things, how busy is it right now in Washington, D.C.?
Well, it's busy, and maybe busier than it should be, just because Congress has been unable to come to agreement on the important issues that need to be put behind us, like the appropriations for the current fiscal year. So we're still trying to work our way through those issues. As you know, that's been a struggle going all the way back into the middle of last year, and we still don't have it resolved. And so we've got our work cut out for us in February, as we've got to settle on what those appropriations bills are going to look like for the current fiscal year. We're really, going on temporary funding measures right now, and much to the chagrin of people like me, and I suspect most people in the 6th District feel the same way, because we're spending too much money.
Surely we're going to resolve this in time, but so far it seems we've just been kicking the can down the road.
That's right, and there's been a lot of talk over the last year about getting back to what they call in Washington regular order. There is a process that we're supposed to follow for how we fund the government, how we pass the appropriations bills that fund the government each year. But when they say regular order, that's kind of an oxymoron, as they would say, in that since this current process for budgeting for the federal government was put in place, it took effect back in 1977, and only 4 times in that period since then has Congress, I shouldn't say we, because I haven't been there for most of that time, but only 4 times has the appropriations process actually been completed in the plan along the lines that it's supposed to be. So what's happening right now, unfortunately, is more normal than abnormal, but I do hope that we can get back here next week and start to kind of methodically finish the work that we started last year. The House has done pretty good. We've passed 7 of the 12 appropriations bills on the House side. We've done better than the Senate. Those 7, it should be noted, include about 80 to 85% of the discretionary spending. So we've got about 85% of our work done in the House. We've got 5 bills that have stalled out because we couldn't get broad agreement to pass those, and so that's where really the focus in the House is going to be. And then we've got to get the Senate to do their job, and then we've all got to sit down and work out the differences between the 2 houses of Congress.
Is there any one big sticking point here? Is it several different things, or just 1 or 2 that's really holding it up?
The big sticking point for most of the last, let's say, 90 days has been just deciding or coming to agreement on what the top line, the total spending level should be. And so finally, about 2 weeks ago, Leader Schumer on the Senate side and Speaker Johnson came to an agreement on what the top line spending level would be, which frankly should not have been such a sticking point. But the Senate, the Democrats in the Senate wanted to spend more than what was agreed to last June as a part of the debt extension deal that the former Speaker and the President and Leader Schumer had worked out. And so there was just, they held out for a long time. Eventually, their position was they wanted to spend more. Our position, that is Republican conservatives in the House, including the Speaker's view, was that we wanted to spend less. The Democrats in the Senate and the President wanted to spend more. We finally settled on the number that was agreed to last June with a few additional cuts, actually. Beyond that, the sticking points that are, I think, really driving the debate in Washington are really probably fall into two categories. One are policy positions that Republicans, conservatives want to implement through the appropriations process to push back against the kind of what I would describe as progressive liberal agenda of the president, that, where they're trying to do things like use Defense Department funds to pay for military service members who want to get an abortion to travel to another state to get that abortion. If they're in a state where maybe they can't get an abortion, they want to travel. We believe, under longstanding agreement in the federal budget process, that shouldn't be funded by the taxpayers. The president is trying to fund that, and so that's been a fight. And there are a number of other what I would call social issues like that. Many of the ones that you see in the news every day, what we call environment, social governance, or diversity, equity, inclusion type of issues that we're fighting over. The other area of disagreement has to do with the southern border, which Republicans, including, again, me, strongly believe we need to get under control. And we believe the president has the authority and powers that he needs and the resources he needs to get the border under control, but he just refuses to do so. The president insists that he needs more money, so that's a sticking point. And then the president has proposed about $150 billion in foreign aid that would go to Israel, the Ukraine, and the Indo-Pacific to push back against our foes around the world, obviously to aid Israel in their fight against Hamas and the radical Palestinian folks that have attacked them in recent months and that they're fighting every day. And then Ukraine, that, of course, is locked in a war with Russia. And then Taiwan and our other friends in the Indo-Pacific area that are fighting, pushing back against China and bracing for what many fear may be an attempt by China to invade and overtake Taiwan by force in the coming months or years.
All right, we need to take a break right here. Congressman John Rose, representing 6th District here in Tennessee, is my guest, and we'll talk to him more after we go to this break on Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Want to thank our friends at Bates Ford and the Works Vehicle Checkup to make sure your vehicle is ready for any road. $59.95 up to 5 quarts oil, tax and disposal, tire rotation, and safety check. 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. They were moving a wreck a few minutes ago. 40 westbound at Fessler's. It's just really heavy on 40 west. Trying to get past Donaldson Pike. You got all that traffic coming in from Wilson County there into Hermitage, Donaldson, as traffic runs slow up there on Vietnam. That's westbound, especially there at Conference Drive. It's still loaded up pretty good with a lot of volume on 24 as you make your way westbound up through the Hickory Hollow area in from Rutherford County. Murfreesboro Pike at British Woods. That wreck is in its clearing stages. 24/7 reliable crane and rigging services here in Middle Tennessee. It's Tomahawk Crane and Rigging. They're online. Check them out at tomahawkcrane.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
What is your passion? How can you use that passion to enrich your community? Hi, this is Melanie Minter, President and CEO of the Lebanon-Wilson County Chamber of Commerce. Your chamber is the resource for making connections to fulfill your passion. Whether education, nonprofit, agriculture, entertainment, or government relations, Wilson County offers a place place for you to be involved. Your chamber connects businesses, individuals, and your passion to the community. We have an enthusiasm for excellence. Join us and catch the spirit. Call or visit our office at 149 Public Square in Lebanon.
Hey, this is Paul with Bates Ford. Have I got some exciting news for you? Bates Ford's moved into our new location at 1780 Franklin Road. That's right, Bates Ford's at 1780 Franklin Road, just off Hartman Drive and Interstate 40. We've got a much larger selection of vehicles to choose from, a state-of-the-art double-sized service department. So come see us at 1780 Franklin Road. That's Bates Ford, 615-444-8221. Bates Ford, the dealer will trade for anything that don't eat.
And we continue here on this Thursday morning. If you joined us late, Congressman John Rose is with us. He actually is in Cookeville and talking over the phone to us this morning. When you get, I'm going to say when you get this budget resolved, what comes next? I mean, this is just one thing. Hopefully, you're gonna get through, and of course, there's always the possibility of not coming to an agreement, and I don't know what's going to happen then. We got to have some kind of appropriation to continue. So, what are the chances of getting something resolved and fairly soon?
Well, I don't think it's at all clear that we're able to do it in what I describe as the normal process, where we pass appropriations bills and then conference to work out differences between the House and the Senate. At this point, sadly, I would say there's a pretty good chance that we end up passing what's called a full year continuing resolution, or sometimes called an omnibus, or we do it in some path like that just because we can't come to agreement. The good news there, it's good news, bad news. The good news is that as a part of the debt ceiling extension last June, early June that we passed, we do have kind of a fallback. And the fallback is actually not terrible for conservatives because it would impose an immediate 1% across the board cut. That's the good news, and that would be basically, in my view, a welcome step in many regards. Where I think it really hurts us is that would also impact defense spending. And for those who are concerned about conditions around the world, that would be a tough pill to swallow because, we are facing increasing threats from a lot of our adversaries. And so that's the downside to that. That would be the fallback position. But to get on to your answer, I think once we resolve the appropriations process by whatever means we do, we're then going to have to take up this issue of helping Israel, helping Ukraine, consideration for helping Taiwan and other countries in the Indo-Pacific. And that has really become framed as if we're going to take care of these folks, then we got to take care of our southern border. And that's kind of the way Republicans have framed that. We're not going to provide resources to help Ukraine defend its border if we're not willing to take care of our own border. And maybe we segue into that and talk about the border a little, but the truth of the matter is what's happening in our southern border is just atrocious. It's a real catastrophe. And I would argue, some would disagree, but I would argue it's a problem that the president has created. And I would submit we don't need new law, we don't need new funding resources to deal fundamentally with that issue. We know this because at the end of the Trump administration, the flow of illegals had slowed to a trickle, and the president had found a range of issues, a range of policies that he had put in place, President Trump that is, that had slowed this. President Biden came in and announced as a candidate and upon becoming president that, we were looking to have more people come across the southern border. I mean, he said we could take a couple of million a year. It's not surprising then that it's turned out we've actually had more than a couple of million a year. So during the 3 years of his presidency, and we're right on the anniversary of that, we've had over 7 million come into the country, more than the population of Tennessee, who've come into the country illegally during President Biden's administration. And maybe a little more, bringing that a little more close to home, just think about December, 305,000 illegal immigrants entered the country illegally during the month of December, more than the population of Knoxville, Tennessee. So it's a real problem, and that's one of the issues that we've just got to get the president to sit down at the table, and we've got to force his hand to solve this problem.
Well, of course, this is an election year. We've got the presidential election coming up in November, of course. There will be the political conventions earlier in the summer, I guess. How does that change, or does that change the landscape as far as the way you see that as a congressman? Is it different in an election year?
Well, I think the reality is it whether I want it to be or not, it is different. At some point, as we get further into the year and the battle for, the election, intensifies, I think it will become more and more difficult to get compromise, more and more difficult to get folks' attention and get them to sit down. So we need to accomplish as many of these big things as we can as early in the year as possible before people start to, politicians, the president, President Trump, if he's the Republican nominee, before they start to frame the issues for the election in such a way that maybe, makes it hard to get to agreement. So it does matter. It shouldn't matter. We should want to solve these problems. Again, with respect to the border, every day that goes by. So just heard yesterday, you probably saw these numbers. 100,000 people have gotten away at the southern border just in the last month. These are people who we don't even know who they are. They just can't identify and count them from observation at the southern border. So this is a real problem that has to be solved. So hopefully we will be able to do that before politics start to get in the way.
All right, let me ask, what are you hearing? And I know you have your representatives. A lot is fed to you from your constituents, but I'm wondering, is there one or two really big things that's on people's minds in District 6?
Sure, and I anticipated you'd want to talk about that. So the border, we've already been talking about one of them, the border, and we saw that in the polling that came out of Iowa and New Hampshire. That issue has really emerged as a top issue, and that's why you see the president finally, just this past week, after spending 3 years saying that this was not a problem, he has finally acknowledged in public statements that the border is a problem. And so that's one that's at the top of the list for most people. But what we might call kitchen table issues are still very important to Tennesseans. The economy, inflation, the cost of living has gone up dramatically. Thankfully, we're seeing the current inflation has moderated a little, though it's still higher than we want it to be. But it's not the 8 or 9% that we were seeing a year ago. But, over the last 2-3 years, the cost of living for Americans has shot up 20 to 30%, with some staples, that we all consume, breakfast foods, that sort of thing, restaurants, everywhere you go, gasoline at the pump, prices are up dramatically still. And so that's making it hard for Americans to make ends meet. And so that's one of the issues that we hear. And there's a lot of concern then, again, we've already talked about this a little, but about national security, foreign policy, the wars around the world. That makes people, unsettled. And then what I might put a label on is call it the culture wars, particularly people with young children that are in school. They're concerned about what their kids are being told. They're concerned, all of this hyper attention that's being placed on things like gender and what our kids are taught in school. This has a lot of people concerned. I have young children, so perhaps I hear that more than some do, but it's a big concern to Americans, and particularly those here in Tennessee and in the 6th District.
I don't want to throw you a curve necessarily here, but there's something that I'm just wondering your attitude towards when we have some people in our legislature here in Tennessee who are talking about refusing to accept some federal money for schools. Now, it's a political thing, I know. They have their reasons
I think because of certain strings that are attached to appropriations that come to the state. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. I think it's a very useful question to talk about. So, you know, I think the number that I've seen thrown around is that it's, you know, close to $2 billion a year that Tennessee gets from the federal government. And obviously the concern that's been expressed is the kind of the strings that are attached, the federal government telling local school authorities, state school authorities what to do, and in some cases advancing this liberal agenda. For example, maybe one of the issues that is most clearly in people's minds are the federal government, the Biden administration, trying to tell us that boys who think they're girls ought to be able to compete in female athletic events. And I think probably most Tennesseans think that's crazy. And it's not fair for women, and you know, we've seen so much progress with respect to women's sports, and so that's what's driving this is, you know, hey, we don't want the federal government trying to impose these radical ideas on us, and so maybe we ought to turn away that money. $2 billion, though, is a lot of money, and the question is, can the state afford to fill that gap? And, you know, then you get into the question of how much of that money actually kind of hits the ground and is able to be used in a productive way versus being spent on compliance or paperwork or red tape. And that's the real debate. I think most of the assessment that I've seen is that it's kind of hard to fill that hole, to come up with $2 billion. And so I think it's unlikely that you see that advance just because of the kind of the hill that you have to climb to figure out how to replace that funding. But here's what I would tell you, Coleman, I think is useful about that process. The federal government is $34 trillion in debt, and increasingly, you know, as leaders in Congress, and just the reality of the federal government is we can't continue to spend the way that we have. And so I would say to our leaders here in Tennessee, it may be a useful exercise to reflect on how could you get the job done without federal money, because that federal money may not be forthcoming in the future as we figure out how to get the federal government's books in order. And to just kind of give you a perspective on how extraordinary the problem is at the federal level, in fiscal year 2023, which we just completed on September 30th last year, the federal government, the deficit was more than $1.7 trillion. The reason that number matters is that total discretionary spending in that fiscal year was $1.7 trillion. So we borrowed more than the total amount of discretionary spending. To put it another way, if we cut every penny that the federal government was spending on the military, on everything except for Medicare, Medicaid, interest, and the things that, you know, we're kind of required to spend, we would have still had a deficit. And so the warning to, I think, local governments and state governments is you may need to find ways to take care of yourself going forward, because the federal government may not have the money to send you. And so as it relates to the issue you asked about turning away federal education money, it may be a worthwhile exercise to think about how could Tennessee get by without that money, because that may be in the future.
All right. Well, we've come to the end of our time here. I want to thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it, and we'll do it again our next scheduled time. Thank you, Congressman Rose, for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Coleman.
Right.
It's a pleasure to be on your show and a pleasure to serve the people of Tennessee.
That is it for Thursday. Join us tomorrow for Coleman and Company. Till then, I wish you a terrific day.